Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Council, please be upstanding for the worshipful, the Mayor of Gedling.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start the meeting, I'll ask Mark Chaplain to say prayer. First, please, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I have actually been asked to say a thought for the day, which is a little bit longer than a prayer. Do you want me to continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I have been asked to share a thought for the day with you, which got me thinking about thoughts. And I wondered, as you do, exactly how many thoughts we have in a day. Well, by now, most of you will already have had 36,000 thoughts. And over the course of 24 hours, the high-functioning thinkers amongst you, you know who you are, will have thought up to 80,000 thoughts. But as we all know, it's not size that counts, it's not the quantity, but the quality of our thoughts that matters. Do we think good thoughts? What do we think about? Do we think charitable and benevolent thoughts? Benefit of the doubt thoughts? Do we think judgy thoughts? Do we still think inquisitive, curious thoughts? Most of us, I'm sure, probably think mundane, did I remember to put the bin out thoughts? And hopefully not too often we think middle of the night thoughts that keep us awake, thinking about all the stuff we haven't done and need to do. And a lot of us think anxious, caring for others thoughts. And I'm pretty sure that we all think increasingly angry, why, oh why thoughts. For the philosopher René Descartes, the fact that he thought at all proved that he existed, in case he was in any doubt. But building on his famous, I think, therefore I am, maybe I think, therefore I become is equally true. Because what we think about shapes who we become. The Buddha said, with our thoughts, we make the world. And 500 years later, St. Paul said to a bunch of prototype Christians, sisters and brothers, whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, or admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things, because thinking good thoughts grows good hearts and lives. Generous thoughts breed generosity, and joyful thoughts grow joyful people, and so on. Well, this evening is about getting down to business, and it requires clear thinking and discerning thoughts. So I'm going to respectfully offer a prayer, mindful that we are people of all faiths and none. And if my words chime with your convictions, feel free to add your amen wherever you direct your thoughts. Let's pray. Loving God, you have made us into thinking things with the capacity to think innovative, empathetic, creative thoughts that expand the capacity of our hearts and change the world for the better. So help us this evening to think good thoughts that lead to good decisions that lead to flourishing communities. Amen. Here endeth the thought for today.
Good evening, everybody. Can I put Councillor Wilkinson, apologies, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Apologies from Councillor Keneally.
Smith, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Apologies from Councillor Barnfather, but if I may, I'd just like to take a moment. Obviously, Councillor Lord Murray isn't with us this evening, and I'd just like to congratulate him on his life peerage and on his new ministerial role in the Home Office. And isn't it amazing what people from Gedling Borough can achieve when they put their mind to something? So I'd like to thank the now Lord Murray for his service to this council and to the residents of Newstead Abbey, and wish him well in his new role in the House of Lords and the Home Office. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Elwood, please. Any other apologies, please? Thank you. Councillor Bosworth. Thank you very much. Mayor's announcements. Can I first of all congratulate Councillor Clark on getting the MBE. We do appreciate what you've done for the borough, John, and what you've done for the party, but most important, what you've done for this borough. As 20 odd years or more on this council, we do appreciate what you've done for the borough, and we wish you all the best for the future, and good luck to you and your family as well. I'd like to congratulate Councillor Murray. I know he's not here this evening, which is disappointing, but understandable why. He's the first man, or the first councillor from Gedling to be honoured with this honour while he's been a member of this Borough Council. So that's another first for Gedling. So we're all pleased with that, and we wish him well for the future. We understand why he's not here tonight and that he's resigned from the council. I'm sorry to say that there won't be a by-election until after the May election. So disappointed in that way, because we might have get him a good run for his money, but that's another ball game. So give him our regards, and we've thanked him very much for what he's got, and we wish him well for the future. Thank you. The rest of the mayor announcement, we've had quite a busy month. We've been to Von Der. We had a twin with our twin town, which was very interesting, and they've got a very, very good boxing club there. And what I'm trying to do, we have got an excellent boxing club in our borough, which has produced the world champion. So we want to try and see if we can form some arrangement with Gedling Borough Council's boxing club and Von Der's boxing club, which I personally would think will go a long way to making sure that youngsters in the area have got some challenges to do. So I'm looking forward to see if we can get that on the ropes, and it looks as though it could happen. So that's one thing which we're very pleased with. Secondly, we've been to a number of social gatherings, which is, as you get older, it gets even better because people know you a bit more, and they're talking all about the things what Gedling's done over the past and how we were 20 or 30 years ago. So it's very interesting, and to be quite honest, people do respect what Gedling Borough Council is doing in the borough. I know we've all got moans, and we can all share them with one another, but generally speaking, most people seem to think we do a damn good job, which is more than satisfying to me. So thank you very much for that.
I think Councillor Clark wants to speak about Councillor Murray.
Councillor Clark, did you say you want to speak something about Councillor Murray?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I mean, my great disagreement with the House of Lords because it's not elected, but well done. Hope he enjoys it, and at some point in the future we may see democracy thrive by having a second elected house. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to make any comment? Would you like, Councillor Bain?
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Can I just first of all congratulate the leader on his recent investiture to the MBE at Windsor Castle. I understand he received his award from the Princess Royal, who was very interested to have a conversation with him about Gedling Colliery and other issues within the borough that the leader is passionate about. Perhaps most pleasing for John and his colleagues on this side of the chamber who are from the same party as him, and I know people have congratulated him cross-party, was to be able to see Tess and Sarah and Catherine at the investiture with him at Windsor Castle and see him receiving his much-deserved honour. So congratulations, John. Let me also extend my congratulations to Baron Murray of Blydydd. I know immediately that he was elevated to the life peerage. He was appointed as a Minister of State in the Home Office. I think he served for a few short weeks there, and there have been several changes of administration, I think, since, but he still holds a role in the Home Office as Parliamentary Under Secretary of State, and we certainly look forward to working with him from Gedling Borough. And in short amount of time, to have had 2 peerages bestowed on people from our borough who have served our borough, represented our borough, both in Baron Coker of Gedling within Nottinghamshire and now Baron Murray from Blidworth, I think is a real testament, as Councillor Smith said, to the public service that goes on cross-party within the borough. So congratulations to Councillor Murray and now Lord Murray, and he'll be missed in this chamber, and well done for the service that he gave to the residents of Newstead Abbey Ward.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to make any comment, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, just to echo all the comments in the chamber, Councillor Murray, Lord Murray, has been a fantastic member of this group. His command of the understanding of policies and procedures was quite something, quite to be witnessed, and to see it live in action as we have on many a times during some difficult points during operations within council meetings was quite incredible. He assures us he will still be available to assist whenever we require, yeah, fantastic for him and for his family, and chuffed to bits. Thank you very much. We will miss him though, of course.
Anybody else would like to say anything? Thank you very much. Item 4, to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 21st of September 2022. Councillor Clark, please.
Move, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Payne.
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Anybody else? All showing, please. All in favour? Any against? Thank you. Item 5, declaration of interest. None? Thank you. Item 6, item 7. A petition under Prudential Rule 78. Any petitions? No? Thank you.
None received, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry. Questions asked under the Public Procedure Rule 7.7.
None received, Mr. Mayor.
Item 8, questions by members on the proceedings 7.9. We have 3 questions from members. Councillor Adam, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, please can the portfolio holder for sustainable growth and economy provide a breakdown of SIL, that is Community Infrastructure Levy, spending, detailing the exact monies generated from each development in each ward and on what it has been spent on and where in a chronological order since May 2011, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Adams, for your question. I'm afraid I'm unable to provide SIL information going back to 2011, as Gedling Borough Council did not adopt SIL until 2015. However, I give you the following information. As of the 10th of November 2022, Gedling Borough Council have collected a total of £6,718,298. And that is through the Community Infrastructure Levy since its adoption on the 28th of October 2015. This is comprised of 135 individual receipts from 76 chargeable developments across the borough. I'm most grateful to officers who have pulled together a detailed information in a spreadsheet, and it includes reference numbers, site addresses, and monetary values. Now, as you can see, it's a pretty lengthy document, so I do not intend to read every individual one out. I will, however, make these available to Councillor Adams and his wider group. With regards to the allocation and expenditure of SIL receipts, the regulations split this into 3 separate portions. Firstly, there is the strategic portion. Then the neighbourhood portion, which is broken down into parish and non-parish areas. and lastly, the administration area. The following is an update on the allocation and expenditure of each portion of the Gedling Borough SIL. Firstly, the strategic portion. As of the 10th of November 2022, 5,149,615 has been collected. The Council has committed to allocate a total of 4.48 million towards the Gedling Access Road, known as Colliery Way, and payment will be made to the county following completion of a transfer agreement, which is currently being progressed. The other projects currently identified in the approved infrastructure list include secondary school contributions at the Chase Farm and Top Wickay developments and a visitor centre at Gedling Country Park. The prioritisation of the projects and value of the future SIL commitments is yet to be determined. Secondly, there is the parish neighbourhood portion. In accordance with the SIL regulations, a total of 532,618 of SIL receipts have been transferred from Gedling Borough Council directly to the local parishes from which they were collected. This is 15% of the receipt, or 25% where a neighbourhood plan has been made. SIL receipts are collected over a 6-month period and transferred to the relevant parish council at the end of March and September. Any receipts which were received after the 30th of September 2022 will be transferred to the relevant parish council in April 2023. The current value of receipts transferred are as follows. Burton Joyce, 80,533. Calverton, 360,922. Lamley, 6,738. Linby, 15,366. Ravenshead, 67,235. Woodborough, £824. In accordance with the SIL regulations, parish councils are responsible for ensuring that any relevant SIL receipts are expended in accordance with the regulations, and they must report any such expenditure to the council. To date, the following projects have been reported. Burton Joyce Parish Council for the removal of a tree in the village centre. Lamley Parish Council multi-use games area improvements. Limby Parish Council highways works. Ravenshead Parish Council petanque courts at Ravenshead Leisure Centre, additional CCTV cameras and new fencing at Cornwater Centre. The non-parish neighbourhood portion. Where chargeable development takes place in an area where there is no parish council, Gedling Borough Council determine, in consultation with residents, how to expend this element of the SIL receipts. As of November 2022, a total of 589,343 has been collected for the non-parish neighbourhood portion. Since adoption in 2015, we have undertaken consultations to consider and assess any nominated projects which have been submitted for non-parish areas. To date, 317,260 has been awarded to the following projects. 2017-18 Cinderpath lighting, 3,500. 2018-19 car park extension at Gedling Country Park, 100,000. 2018-19 changing room facilities at Lamley Lane, 40,000. 29-20 Greenland Corridor, 50,000. 2019-20 Arnold Marketplace Development, 43,000. 2020-21 footpath extension at Willow Park. 2020-21 internal works and alterations at Netherfield Forum Children, Young People and Families Hub, 55,760. A consultation report for possible expenditure in 22-23 will be considered by Cabinet on the 8th of December. Finally, Mr Mayor, the SIL regulations allow the Council to spend 5% of monies collected to cover administration costs associated with the implementation and operating the SIL. As of the 20th of November 2022, a total of £335,915 has been collected. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any other questions, Councillor Adams?
As I haven't had a chance to look through the actual full detail, Mr Mayor, I won't have a follow-up question this time, but I'd like to thank the Cabinet Member for the report. Thank you.
Reading of the fairly lengthy document, clearly if there are any questions, please come back to me. Thank you.
Can I always thank Councillor Hollingsworth for a wonderful report? That's very, very informative. Thank you very much. Councillor Sam Smith, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My residents of Trent Valley are fed up with our green belt and green spaces being concreted over with yet more housing, and we've all seen, sadly, the negative impact and contribution that has had recently on the flooding in Burton Joyce. Can the Cabinet Member responsible for planning confirm that no land will be taken out of the borough's existing green belt to enable further housing allocations as part of this Council's contribution to the Greater Nottinghamshire Strategic Plan?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Smith, for the question. The draft Greater Nottingham Preferred Strategic Approach document was recently shared with a reconvened cross-party working group following the approval by the Joint Advisory Board on the 27th of September. The meeting was used as an opportunity to explain the background to preparing the Greater Nottingham Strategic Plan and to talk through the broad content. Councillor Smith attended the working group in the absence of Councillor Adams, so he should be familiar with the proposals. Most of the planned housing growth is already included in existing local plans. However, for clarity, the approach document includes reference to the strategic sites carried forward from the Aligned Core Strategy, which have planning permission, but where works have either yet to start or where a significant amount of development is still to take place. In line with the sustainability principles and the settlement hierarchy set out in the preferred approach, as much housing as is feasible will be located within the and adjoining the main built-up area of Nottingham. For Gedling Borough, development continues at Teal Close, at Netherfield and at Chase Farm site. In addition, strategic scale releases for growth are proposed, including an extension to the Teal Close site to accommodate a further 360 homes. The sub-regional centre of Hucknall is also an appropriate location for growth, and two sites which adjoin Hucknall area are carried forward within the preferred approach document at Topwick Hay Farm and land north of Papelwick Wellane. In addition, an extension to the sustainability urban extension at Topwick Farm site is proposed within the existing safeguarded land for 640 homes. The preferred approach does therefore propose the removal of land from the green belt at Teal Close, as it is not possible to meet our future housing requirements within the existing urban boundary and previously allocated land. The preferred approach document is supported by a comprehensive evidence base, including a site selection report, which has helped to inform which sites are recommended for development. A detailed report is due to be considered by Cabinet on the 8th of December, seeking approval of the preferred approach document, so far as it relates to Gedling, to allow a period of consultation. If approved by Cabinet, it is then open to MPs, councillors and members of the public to submit their comments and or concern during the consultation period.
No, thank you for that update. Obviously, that was a private meeting and residents couldn't listen, so they can now. So thank you for that. Disappointed land's going to be taken out the green belt again, but we'll take part in the consultation. Thank you.
Councillor Greensmith, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can the Cabinet Member responsible for finance confirm how much the Government's Welcome Back Fund was allocated to Gedling Borough Council? How much was actually spent and on what was it spent on? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Greensmith, for your question. Let me just start by saying I am somewhat surprised that the question's being asked here tonight, because you will well know, Councillor Greensmith, that the allocations of both the Welcome Back Fund and the Reopening High Street Safely Fund are both in the public domain, reference the Cabinet report the 5th of August 2021, and on your own government's website for every member of the public and every councillor to see. Nonetheless, for the public record, I'll give a response here this evening. Let me also just start by saying, because I'm not sure whether this is what sits behind your question, Councillor Greensmith, a huge thank you to the European Union for the funding that we got through the Welcome Back Fund, because of course you will well know that this is not Treasury funding, this is funding that came from the European Union through the European Union Regional Development Fund. The figure that you're looking for, Councillor Greensmith, just to save you going on the .gov.uk website when you get home this evening, is £210,000 426. That's £210,000 426. It's made up of two elements. £105,213, which came from the Reopening High Streets Safely Fund, the first element, which was £50 million from the European Union, and that fund was then replicated in the Welcome Back Fund, £105,213 from a share of 56 million that came from the European Union. Those two 105, 213s make up the 210, 426, and the government ended up badging both of those as the Welcome Back Fund. The council spent the entirety of the money. So we spent £210,426. And just to illustrate what that money was spent on, Councillor Greensmith and colleagues, things like 20 COVID-safe bins for the borough, a part-time comms officer for COVID response information, part-time retail consultant to support high street retail businesses, 20 benches for retail centres when people obviously were having to self-isolate and not be able to walk in the usual manner around our high streets and town centres, advertising space across the borough, footfall cameras and data sets to monitor safe return to shopping areas, events activity including Christmas 2021, which I'm sure you will attest, Councillor Greensmith, was a huge success and very much needed after the difficult period of COVID. The COVID Memorial Stone in Arnold, which has been universally welcomed by residents right across the borough, including in many of the councillors who represent wards here. The Rediscover website and Christmas campaign, COVID planters to mark the anniversary, environmental health packs and business quality scheme, 9 fountain planters and bedding plants, which brought some joy to people after a very difficult global pandemic, safety messaging for the borough, as well as videos on the Rediscover webpage, and finally, expenditure on very much needed COVID marshals to keep people safe. It's with deep regret that I inform the council that whilst this council, I hope you're listening, Councillor Greensmith, having asked the question, that I inform the council that whilst this council spent 210,426 on all of those items that I've just outlined to you, the government chose to reject 2 elements of the council's funding. £25,000 on COVID marshals was rejected and was not funded because this money wasn't given up front. Like with many of these grants, the council has to lay out, the taxpayer has to lay out the expenditure first and then claw back the money. The COVID marshals funding was rejected, more about that in a moment, and there was also £8,000 worth of comms work that was rejected too. Nonetheless, we've paid those bills, we paid for that work. We weren't going to pull the plug on the COVID marshals. I think everybody realised what an important job they were doing. Why did the government not give us the funding for the COVID marshals and the comms funding, which means that we only got £174,247 back from the government? Around about 83% of the funding came back from the government. They didn't give us the funding because of a technicality. Any contract over £25,000 has to be explicitly advertised on contractfinder.co.uk, I think it's called, by part of the European Union's rules and the government's rules, and our funding was rejected on a technicality. I stand here as the portfolio holder for finance and the deputy leader of this council and stand by the decision we made to carry on keeping our COVID marshals on the street to keep people safe. We ended up spending £28,500. That came out of another portion of the council's budget, and I think it was the right decision. If you'd asked me, should we have withdrawn the COVID marshals earlier so that we managed to get 25,000 from the government? No. I think that would have been a deeply unsensible thing to do, given the public health risks that there were about COVID at the time. And the second element of funding that the government didn't reimburse us, the £8,000 on communications, was because that work took place at the end of the claim period leading up to March 2022, March this year, and the invoice wasn't received until June. And the government was very, very, very clear that unless something had been paid for before the end of the claim period, they weren't willing to give us the money back. Again, I stand by our decision. We were still dealing with issues right up until spring of this year. It was right to spend that money, and the council has made sure that that was funded. So the total allocation, Councillor Greensmith, was £210,426. Gedling Borough Council spent the full amount of that, but the government saw fit only to give us back £174,247. While I'm on my feet, Councillor Greensmith, before you ask a supplementary, I do hope at some point now we've got a former councillor who's in the House of Lords that some questions from your side might start to be asked about why Gedling Borough didn't get a single penny from the Pockets Park Fund or the Towns Fund or the Future High Streets Fund, and we're still waiting for our money from the Levelling Up Fund. So rather than nitpicking over hard work that our officers did in the middle of a global pandemic, it'd be nice if some councillors from your side got on your feet and started arguing for our side and our community in terms of the other funds that this government has overlooked us on time and time and time again.
Councillor Greensmith, any supplementary questions, please?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Item 9, Over and Scrutiny Committee Annual Report. Recommended on page 11. Councillor Clark to move, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll formally move those and also add the fact we're only asked to note them. To thank people who have taken part in the scrutiny and the work that scrutiny is doing. I'm particularly interested to look in the results of the sewage one that's coming out, because that's obviously stirred up quite a storm quite the way across the country. It's not just locally, so it'll be interesting what our scrutiny committee report back on that. So I'll move those. Thank you.
Councillor Payne.
Seconded, Mr Mayor, and reserve the right to speak.
What's her name? Councillor Clooney, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to say a few words as the chair of the Overview and Scrutiny panel committee. We've had a very successful, interesting year, and our meetings have been very vibrant and with enthusiastic participation from members of the committee. I'd also like to thank the council officers who make it all happen, namely Emma and Ben, who attend all our meetings. And I'd also like to thank other council contributors, Mike Hill and Paul Adcock, who provide us with lots of information. Looking forward, we'll be getting an update on the recommendations from the Domestic Abuse and Accommodation Working Group, which happened a few months ago. We think it's vital these recommendations have been implemented to continue to support these vulnerable people. And as Councillor Clark just mentioned, we'll be shortly preparing the recommendations from the Sewerage Working Group. This has been a very wide-reaching working group with many outside bodies contributing. And we had a visit to Stoke Bardolph water treatment plant as well to see the implications for them. The committee has lots of ideas going forward, so we're looking forward to them coming to fruition in the coming months, and I recommend the report be noted. Thank you.
Anybody else, please? Councillor Bain.
Just to congratulate Councillor Clooney and the team on Overview and Scrutiny for the good work that they're doing. Obviously, the issue around domestic abuse and accommodation is hugely significant and important issue, and the recommendations that have made, I think, are incredibly welcome. Like Councillor Clark, I'm very much looking forward to the outcome of the sewerage working group. For those members of the public who might be listening tonight, Gedling Borough was on the receiving end of 343 sewerage spills in our borough. That's raw sewage going into our rivers and waterways in 2021. That equates to 55 days worth, or 1,326 hours worth, and the government is still not doing enough on this issue. It is damaging our waterways, it is damaging our biodiversity and our wildlife, and it's about time that the government started taking some action on this issue instead of allowing private water companies to continue dumping raw sewage in our rivers and waterways. And the work that the working group are doing on this is incredibly welcome, because they're showing leadership where our government is showing inaction.
Councillor Smith, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to echo what the Chair of the Overview and Scrutiny has just said. I'd like to thank her for her chairing of the meetings. I think it's very important that members of the backbench side of the chamber have the opportunity to speak to members of the Cabinet in a formal setting. That's also led to informal conversations outside of these meetings, and I thank them for their attendance.
Adams, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, just to echo what Councillor Martin Smith has said there. Yeah, absolutely right. It's fundamental that we have this scrutiny available to look at such important issues. Specifically, things around the wastewater problem is a good thing to be looking at, and I'd like to thank the Chair, Councillor Clooney, for her work on it. And it was good to join you in that committee and discuss with Severn Trent and the other bodies that were there as well. It's important to get those questions across. I would only issue with it. One day it'd be nice if we echo and follow what they do at the County Hall and have an opposition member as the deputy chairman to ensure that scrutiny is not just marking everybody's own homework. Thank you very much.
All in favour, please show. Any against? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Clark to move East Midland Development Deal.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think, well, we're in limbo now. We're just actually asked on devolution to deal with the last item there, which is 4, which recommends the Council endorses the East Midlands devolution deal. Some people say you shouldn't have anything to do with it. Some people say you should do. And I believe we should be at the table, as I did with Brexit. We should be at the table there, but we've taken ourselves away from it. In this one, we don't know. It's a bit of a guess as what's going to happen in the future. Probably tomorrow will give some direction from the Chancellor, and to see whether we're going to have any spare money around if this carries on, or this might even get scrapped. You never know. There's some big things probably going to get scrapped tomorrow to righten up the accounts. It's the best deal, as you can say, that's in town. I think I've mentioned this before, Mr. Mayor. There is a consensus that wasn't there in 2016. The consensus is clear from all people, all political persuasions, that we're trying to do the best for our area. And it is times that the East Midlands woke up and was countered, because we're outrun often by other areas, north, south, east and west, where people tend to be lobbying better, seem to be working together better. And I'm hopeful out of this devolution deal. It doesn't look on there as 31, I think it's 31 billion, and that is over 30 years. It's not a big amount amongst 19 authorities, but it is some. It's not that, it's what comes in afterwards, and we should be seeking for what that can lever in, working together. I mean, I'm not fazed by having a mayor. I prefer a Labour mayor, but if there's another mayor, as long as that person, he or she, carries out that role properly and looks out for the well-being of our area, both in business and both in social things and health and everything else. So I'll move that recommendation. The Council endorses East Midlands devolution deal. It has gone through county, and I say there's been a tremendous amount of consensus there that people want it to help. I just hope it receives the proper funding and the help and the guidance, because there are other areas to look at. I think Greater Manchester was one of those, to access some of this money that will make a lot of lives a lot better, secure jobs, and all the other things that go with it. So I'll move that. Thank you.
Seconded, Mr Mayor, and reserve the right to speak.
Anybody else like to speak on this one, please? Adams? Councillor Adams, sorry.
No, thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's great news that we're moving forward with devolution plans for Nottinghamshire and the wider area. It's important that Gedling has an opportunity to really get some fantastic job opportunities, to really grow the local economy. Devolution can bring real benefits for local people. And as it's done in other parts of the country, it will mean more funding for our region and the opportunity to have more meaningful decisions made here near the people they affect rather than in London. So they can be better tailored to local needs. Devolution can help us be more effective locally, make us better use of public money, and most importantly, improve people's lives. It would lay the groundwork for us to build on the future and to benefit future generations. I'd encourage everybody within the room to get involved with the consultation, including all members of the public that are listening to this meeting today. It's, as I said again, a phenomenal opportunity, and I'd hope everybody in this room could back it also tonight and really give it the fire that it needs to ensure we get out of it what we can. My final point would just be to thank the officers here who have done a lot of work. I know the Chief Executive has been involved heavily with some of the area in my portfolio at County Hall regards to the environment and other areas. So I'd like to thank him for that, and also other colleagues as well that have worked on it. It's a phenomenal opportunity for all of us, and we really should grasp it by both hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, obviously the leaders worked really hard on this with the Chief Executive, and it's the only game in town. You've got to be in it to win it. I will just make this comment, given that we are facing an autumn statement from the Chancellor tomorrow. We've got a first election for the Mayor of the area, the combined authority, in 2024. And I seriously hope that we don't end up having yet another elected politician presiding over a series of hollowed out local authorities. Because if you don't believe me about how difficult it is for local authorities at the moment, believe those well-known socialists, the leader of Hampshire and the leader of Kent, who have been warning the government about what is happening this year in terms of council budgets. And I think there's a very real risk here that if the Chancellor doesn't take some serious action tomorrow, and let me be clear, tweaking with the level of council tax is not the answer to the problems that local government faces. If some serious, positive, progressive action is not taken when the Chancellor is on his feet tomorrow, we will end up electing a directly elected mayor for a combined authority with a series of constituent local authorities underneath that are hollowed out without the capacity of staff to deliver on the goods that are in this document. So the proof of the pudding for me, Mr Mayor, is in the eating, and let's see what the Chancellor has got to say tomorrow when he gets on his feet.
On this one. All in favour, please show. Any against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item 11, changes in the committee structure. Councillor Clark, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I think this stands as it stands, so I'll move it. And I don't think there's any adjustment because of Councillor Murray resigning or moving on. So I'll move it. Thank you.
Seconded, Mr Mayor.
Any against? It's carried. Thank you.
Next page.
Missed it, didn't I? Here we are. Questions by members concerning any matter dealt with by the Executive Committee on Procedural Rules 710. Any questions, please? Any member would like to speak? No questions? All in favour? I don't know what we have to do. But any against? Just thank you, innit? Item 13, comments on the procedural rules 711. Mr.
None received, Mr Mayor.
Item 14, procedural rules 712.
None received, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. I think it's the time of the year where I have to wish everybody happy Christmas because we're meeting till the new year. So I wish everybody a happy Christmas. Hope you all get what you're looking for, and let's hope the government delivers what it's promising us. Thank you very much.